Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Mercy Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and finally the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially managed able to continue exploring the deforms of Ouranos Island. In addition to that, we also manage able to collect quite a few Chaos Emeralds at this point, especially noticeable because, again, we just somehow got distracted by the forms of a lot of exploration. As well as from that, we also managed able to win through quite a few cyberspace segments from time to time, and especially noticeable, we actually did manage to complete some other challenges here and there. So today for this video is about the fact that we're about able to not only continue things on in the forms of Ouranos Island, but also about the fact that we can able to get ourselves our next Chaos Emerald, specifically the 4th Chaos Emerald. So in some cases though, I get the strong feeling we might as well go after the Green Emerald. But first, before we get the Chaos Emeralds, we need to talk to Sage quickly, so just in case, what do we do next?
I believe you can proceed once you find a way to activate the starting device and power the statue.
Sure would have been smoother sailing if we'd been working together from the start, but... well, I guess I had to earn your trust first, huh?
Do you know how to activate the starting device?
I've figured out everything else up until now, haven't I? Don't sweat it.
So yeah, similar to the forms of how it does it in Chaos Island, we need to able to interact with this monitor thingy right there, just in case we can able to actually play some more Ika-Uka, basically. And basically it's about the fact that we still need to able to take down this particular hacked device, or this hacked object, or whatever. And then once you've done that, obviously we can now able to actually access the bridge, which pretty much leads us to the continuation of Ouranos Island. So either way, a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is about the fact that today's date, of course, is the 11th of July today, in this case in 2023 today. Naturally speaking, we're actually getting quite close towards the forms of the halfway point in terms of the 7th month of the year, in some cases July, which I can't even believe by saying this is about the fact that, again, time flies, especially noticeable after playing through tons of games recently, not only for the sake of the forms of Sonic Frontiers on the PlayStation 4 version, as well as the forms of the Switch version on my own time for a bit, just to able to try out some DLC stuff every once in a while, and on top of that with the Xbox One version, which is pretty much the same thing, and on top of all that stuff though, you know about the fact that, you know, recently that Silver is now going to be going back into the Super Monkey Ball series of Let's Plays, of all things. Well, relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that he actually had a lot of fun with the forms of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania so far, despite the fact that he doesn't seem able to know about the fact that he was a little bit mixed upon the physics and control momentum a bit, but I'm sure that about the fact that he'll talk more details about that particular topic. I can assure you about the fact that he's almost done with the forms of the entire story mode before he moved on to the forms of the challenge modes. So, relatively speaking, for both Super Monkey Ball 1 and Super Monkey Ball 2 levels, and especially noticeable with some bonus content here and there. I suppose the only thing he's probably not going to show you guys is the forms of the party game selection because, well, again, I'll let Silver be able to mention more details onto that topic.
The way is clear. We must acquire the Chaos Emeralds with expediency.
You got it, Sage. We've run into each other so many times, but I only recently learned your name. You could have told me sooner, you know.
We were enemies. Furthermore, my name holds no meaning.
Well, sure it does. Eggman named you that for a reason. That means you're important to him.
You think he cares about me?
Well, sure. In his own way. Hey, time's a-wasting. Let's wrap this up.
Alright, so now we can able to get the Chaos Emerald now, so relatively speaking though, we can now able to do some more stuff onto that particular other side of the island. So, relatively speaking, this also includes one of those cyberspace transporters, if I was assuming so anyway. So, but either way though, that doesn't seem to able to take that long to able to actually get to the specific points worth noting for. So, anyways, there's another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that recently, I actually got myself my new pairs of headphones recently for my laptops, for the sake of time. Like, relatively speaking, do you guys even remember about the fact that since about a week ago, that I was pretty annoyed about the fact that the left side of my headphones no longer work? So as it turns out, I recently bought myself my new pairs of headphones to make things a little bit more, well, cooler than ever before. Mind you, I've got the black one as opposed to the white color, but that's just because about the fact that it matches the forms of my USB connectors for not only for my microphone, but also with the forms of some other devices here and there as well. So either way though, that seems the case. So, if I've tested out on my headphones recently, they look amazing, especially noticeable. Well, despite the fact that it might actually say it's the actual advertisement for that particular headphones does manage to show us not only one, but 3 buttons for the sake of my headphones. Like, for instance, there was the usual volume buttons, the plus and minus buttons, and especially noticeable out of nowhere, I actually stumbled across to myself the actual telephone button, which I'm not exactly sure how that usually represented for. Well, my guess is about the fact that it only works in journey forms of certain iPhone models ranging between, well, let's just say old school iPhones like 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6. And I'm not exactly sure about 7 though, because I haven't exactly experienced iPhone 7 for myself. But either way though, that'll be a topic for a later time. Especially noticeable by that time until likely or so for 2 months time. My guess is that Apple might able to actually reveal iPhone 15 at some point. I mean, yeah, it's ridiculously over the top, whatever I think about it anyway. So, but either way though, let's just go ahead and explore for this next cyberspace segment, as you can tell. And basically, we're going back into the city environment once again. So, relatively speaking, now everything else will be pretty much accounted for the sake of convenience. Although, mind you, about the fact that we don't need to necessarily try to worry about, about the fact that we've already got enough vault keys for now when it comes to likely getting the forms of the last few Chaos Emeralds that we can able to obtain. So, but either way, that must have been said something. So, anyway, in addition to that, is that tomorrow, both Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass, well, when it comes to the forms of Mario Kart Tour, the Pipe Tour should be starting tomorrow, and as a result about the fact that it does have able to actually brings us some jam-packed full of content, and as a result about the fact that for some reason I just somehow managed to keep on buying the actual Apple vouchers, which as a result, just trying to get some content, and despite the fact that the problem with that is that I'm more addicted to Mario Kart Tour, which can be a good thing, but it's also kind of a problematic, at least in my opinion. Well, it's a good thing about the fact that I can able to experience some more content, but the bad thing is that, geez, the controls are still so finicky, and I think relatively speaking, they obviously will bring out the forms of a new software update, but it only works in journey forms of the later upgrades for mobile phones, like for instance iPhone 8 and onwards, because if you get iPhone 6, which I highly doubt you might not likely, that is about the fact that you pretty much stuck with the forms of iOS 11, or potentially speaking something else entirely, because, relatively speaking because I remember, horror stories when it comes to likely about the fact that, well, every time when I play Mario Kart Tour on iPhone 6, well, specifically the regular 6 model, where basically the game keeps crashing, and as a result, it keeps lagging most of the time, which as a result, the previous iPhones, when it comes to playing Mario Kart Tour, is pretty much unplayable because of the forms of the lag, as well as the forms of game crashes every once in a while. But either way though, thankfully an iPhone XR doesn't seem to able to have that issue at all, so, because it runs quite well. So, Anyway though, and as far as I'm aware, that we're about to be getting DLC Wave 5 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass until tomorrow. So either way though, I am very excited able to try out certain courses in HD quality. Like for instance, I'm very excited able to try out not only Athens Dash, but also with the forms of Moonview Highway, and also trying out Squeaky Clean Sprint, and of course Daisy Cruiser, and of course Sunset Wilds, Los Angeles Laps, and especially notable with the forms of Cooper Cape, and of course Vancouver Velocity as well. So, but either way though, that's I get it about the fact that with this particular selection it's almost entirely based around summer themed, which it kind of seems very similar to the forms of how it does it for maybe a little bit for Wave 2. However, unlike in Wave 2, that we have to wait for 5 months in between the forms of both Wave 1 and Wave 2 in mind, because as a result, Wave 2 is by far the longest wait we've ever had to sit through, whilst thankfully during the forms within Wave 3, as well as Wave 4 and 5 and possibly Wave 6, the actual waiting times are a bit balanced. Like for instance, that I think 4 months at minimum is actually well balanced, I will admit that right away. So, but either way though, and I still am not exactly sure what other features they're able to actually bring us something to the table, but I suppose we'll find out due time. Especially noticeable, we'll let Ray the Flying Squirrel were able to mention more details about the forms of specific updates in regards to the forms of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, of what new stuff they'll bring in, because I know for a fact that in the Wave 3, if I recall, did manage to able to bring us into ourselves customized item selection in the versus race mode. Now on top of that, with the forms of in Wave 4, now able to actually introduce into ourselves the eShop icon, which as a result just brings us into the forms of Booster Course Pass menu, which fundamentally though is very similar to the forms of how it does it on the shop menu on the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8, despite the fact that you can no longer get DLC in the Wii U version anymore, because you know the Wii U eShop is dead. So, but either way, though, that must have felt somewhat unfortunate. So, anyways, though, so let's just go ahead and finish off the stage, because as you can tell, that this is my second run on this stage, because I seemed able to lost a whole bunch of rings, thanks to that particular very annoying emphasis about the forms of how the fact that every time when I get hit by those spiked balls, as to be expected, it contains a knockback. So that's pretty much unsurprising, especially noticeable that we pretty much already come across into that solution earlier. So either way, thankfully we did somehow manage to complete all of those missions in this particular cyberspace level 4-4. Now if you're probably wondering why about the fact that we actually stumbled across into 4-4, because I don't think about the fact that on the 4th island does not contain any cyberspace transporters, because it only has towers to shut down. So yeah, you probably already get the idea about that. So, and I'd suppose about the fact that I believe if you manage to beat the game once, like the actual main story campaign, I'm pretty sure you can able to actually unlock not only the Battle Rush challenge, but also with the forms of cyberspace challenges as well. Like for instance, it's almost like a time attack syndrome basically, so it's very similar to the time attack mode from the likes of the forms of Sonic Lost World on the Wii U/PC versions. So I'll probably get the gist of the actual vibes to it though, so either way. And it seems to be more specifically that we've almost finishing up every single challenges in Sonic Frontier so far. I mean, mind you, there are still some challenges needs to be doing for this point. Like, I get the strong feeling that we've only got one more nighttime challenge left, so as a result that we don't have to necessarily try to worry about you know, cycle through between day and night cycle. So because of that though, whilst unlike the forms of how it does it on The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and especially noticeable with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that basically though you can able to actually go ahead and choose between day and night cycle at any point. So, but even then though, that must have been said something I suppose. So, Anyways though, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well, is that obviously about the fact that recently, Tom Hanks, you know, the voice of Woody from most of those Toy Story movies, is that basically he's now recently became 67 years old, or 67 years old. So yeah, happy 67th birthday, Tom Hanks, because you know, you're awesome, and especially notable, you always do a really grand job when it comes to voicing Woody from every single Toy Story films. Well, apart from a couple of exceptions here and there, like Toy Story Treats, which are essentially it's like a mini advertisement or like a short ad or something like that. Mind you, it's been a very long while since actually I've last watched some of those Toy Story Treats, as far as I'm aware. They look quite cool though, which I'm guessing is almost entirely based around the first film because of the forms of Sid's toys are involved, like the baby face, as well as the forms of most of any other references from Toy Story 1. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that. So, and especially noticeable with the forms of the opening sequence in Buzz Lightyear Star Command, The Adventure Begins, like, you know, when they've got themselves the VHS, specifically the US copy of the film, like the VHS tape and stuff like that, which I'll admit, when I was young, when I managed able to saw this on the VHS version of Buzz Lightyear Star Command, The Adventure Begins, I thought it was really cool and awesome at the same time in my opinion, especially noticeable that it's a good thing I still managed to got the film with me nowadays on the DVD version, so just to bring my nostalgia memories back, especially noticeable with the forms of some other films as well, like Ants, and especially noticeable with Hercules and Tarzan, and especially noticeable with, of course, The Lion King and all that jazz. So, but either way though, I was expecting to try to get A Bug's Life at some point, but maybe not now. Maybe there's a possibility we can probably potentially try to get that at some point, on not only on the PlayStation 1 as a video game tie-in, it's able to actually bring me back so many memories when I played the PC version or something like that. Well, I don't know about you, because I haven't exactly thought to myself just trying to able to predict of getting something at this point. Especially noticeable about the fact that recently also, about the fact that I just noticed about the fact that the recent anniversary just came up just recently, and that's what appears to be Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, has recently became 20 years old since 2003. So yeah, happy 20th anniversary of Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. You know, in some cases though, the most iconic films ever when it comes to the Pirates of the Caribbean series, especially noticeable about the fact that that wasn't until in 2006 roll around, where in Kingdom Hearts 2 managed able to get one of those worlds based off from Pirates of the Caribbean, like specifically based off from the first film, whilst for some reason we never actually got the actual world that is based off from the second film, which is of course Dead Man's Chest, because as a result, it wasn't until in 2019 roll around, where basically Kingdom Hearts managed able to bring back the Pirates of the Caribbean characters once again, except it does manage to take place in the Caribbean, likely also based off from the likes of At World's End, the third entry in the series. So yeah, that probably explains it. So either way though, aside from all that stuff though, honestly guys, that's what I can really say about this. Well, apart from the fact that until tomorrow anyway, that both Mario and Luigi Dream Team Brothers is expected to become 10 years old until tomorrow. At least specifically, it only came out in the European countries at first. But then eventually about the fact that the Monsters University on the UK release on the big screen was expected to be able to also become 10 years old during that time. So yeah, that's quite a lot of anniversaries to come, especially noticeable because again, time flies, and especially noticeable we're still on 2023 at this rate. So, but either way though, that must have been said something. So, anyway, so another thing I should probably point out as well is that, potentially speaking now, when it comes to the forms of other stuff I would like to mention, well, honestly guys, about the fact that we've now gone to the point where we've only got one wave left for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so that means it might be about the fact that some people are expected able to be a little bit worrisome at points, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking about the fact that we've only still got 2 characters left, and on top of that we've got 8 tracks remaining, so I get the strong feeling that for the majority of the forms of the final 4 tracks that might able to actually revealed. It could be based off from the likes of in Mario Kart Tour, as we expected. And as far as I'm aware, when it comes to the final few 4 courses, we might expect to able to actually get one of them. Based off from the likes of, let's just say, in Super Mario Kart, because we were expecting to originally try to get it on Wave 5, but we have to wait until for the final wave. And on top of that, with more GameCube tracks should be on its way as well, but I'm not exactly sure about the forms of the true definition of the actual final track in mind, because, well, I'm still speculating about the fact that maybe potentially that Wii Rainbow Road might be on there. But unfortunately, what I found out is about the fact that I'm pretty sure that Mario Kart Wii selections of tracks is pretty much done, which I'm a little bit worried at first glance, because I was assumed that it would be pretty cool to able to actually have not only, in terms of the forms of in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe so far, that we actually got a grand total of 4 Rainbow Roads in one particular Mario Kart game, which I think is actually quite impressive, which almost matches up to the forms of how it does it for that particular amount, based off from not only Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart Arcade GP1, but also with Mario Kart Arcade GP2, except for DX, because DX is the only Mario Kart game does not feature a Rainbow Road themed track, which I found is a little bit jarring at first glance. Well, that's just because about the fact that it's been a couple of days since I actually have last experienced Mario Kart Arcade GP DX. Well, that's just because I'm more accustomed to not only the first game, but also with the forms of the second game as well, despite the second game does have jam-packed full of content, and especially noticeable it does feature the most annoying announcer voice I've ever heard, like keeps on repeating some of the specific status quotes, and on top of that, just anything else in general. So, anywho though, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this, in regards to the forms of my future predictions as far as the final wave as far as this is concerned, which are both the Acorn Cup as well as the Spiny Cup. Something tells me about the fact that some people keep on asking about the fact that Piranha Plant Pipeline is going to be a part of Wave 6, potentially. Well, we don't know exactly for surely, just because about the fact that it's bad enough that Mario Kart Tour is still continuing during that specific point worth noting for. But at the same time, though, it's just about the fact that they keep on, you know, bringing back some good old tracks, and potentially speaking, though, it's hard to explain, honestly, because I know for a fact that it's been quite a few hours, and it's especially noticeable about the fact that it's been about 5 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure. Although relatively speaking, though, about the fact that at this point in time, on my own time for a bit, I still managed able to play myself Super Mario RPG on my glorious Super Nintendo Classic Mini just before the Switch remake should be on its way, as you probably already expect. So, but either way though, oh yeah, there's also another thing I should probably explain about this as well. I think, relatively speaking, we've only got 10 more days to go until Pikmin 4 is finally getting its release on the Nintendo Switch. Well, mind you, I still haven't really tried out the demo version of the game, but that's just because about the fact that I'm just pretty much gonna have to wait for a little while, just in case if the game finally comes out during a public release. So, anyway, in addition to that, I think we've only got about 13 days to go, specifically for those of you who lived in the UK. The Super Mario Bros. Movie on DVD and Blu-ray was expecting to come, so either way though, yeah, I'm still very excited about it, especially noticeable about the fact it's nice to able to actually just to have, not only that I've managed to able to get the DVD version as you expect from the pre-order bonus items as far as I'm concerned, but it's also worth noting for I've got the Blu-ray version as well, just to ensure about the fact that I basically got myself, at that time, about the fact that once that film finally comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, I believe I also have a grand total of 4 Blu-ray movies, which are My Little Pony the movie, because Friendship is Magic is my top priority, and on top of that, with Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, as well as the second film, and on top of that, just anything else in general for that part. So, because usually I'm most likely only focusing on the Blu-ray DVDs for focusing on my favorite franchises ever, so that might be the reason for it when it comes to able to getting myself not only a DVD version of certain films, but also with the Blu-ray versions as well, just to experience the film in full HD, so either way. Oh yeah, I just want to classify for something. I'm actually going to be going after the new Cocos I'm about to able to go after. And basically it's about the fact it leads you to some of the most toughest platforming segments from time to time. Like for instance, we need to avoid a lot of springs and basically need to get a lot of boost of speed. And once you make towards the end of this particular segment, basically you can able to obtain a new Coco. And what you can do with it is that once you're trying to find Elder Coco, basically you can able to have the ability to able to unlock your upgrade to your boost gauge, which as a result, it feels very similar to the forms of how it does it when you try to upgrade the stamina vessel from the likes of not only from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but also with Tears of the Kingdom as well. So relatively speaking though, except the fact that the biggest difference is there, is that you need to able to bring 4 Spirit Orbs in Breath of the Wild, as well as the forms of the Blessing Orbs in Tears of the Kingdom, likely also for the fact that if you do manage to able to get enough orbs, then you would be able to actually upgrade one of 2 attributes, which are obviously the heart container or the stamina wheel, or should I say the stamina vessel. So either way though, that must have been you know, very similar for that regard. So anyways though, so this is going to be the point where the fact that as I said before about the fact that during the forms of this particular week itself, obviously this is going to be the point where I don't think it's possible we can able to actually get to the final bit of the game straight away, because obviously afterwards, well, potentially speaking, once I've managed able to done with not only for every single cyberspace segment, but it's also about the fact that once I do get enough all of the Chaos Emeralds during that specific time, then obviously I'll also hit back into the previous islands to able to check out quite a lot of content here and there. Like for instance with the forms of let's just say one of those action chain challenges, and especially noticeable with the forms of other stuff here and there as well, like some music notes I still need to be obtained from the first island, and especially noticeable with the forms of other stuff worth noting for. So yeah, but then again though, we'll save that particular topic for later. So, oh wow, it's a good thing I managed able to get some more Sage memory tokens, because obviously we need to get more of them before we're able to actually progress onto the final point of the game. So relatively speaking though, about the fact that, well, I can't believe it's actually getting ridiculously close to able to actually finish up this entire game, relatively speaking, despite there are still some content that needs to be shown off, and that is of course with the forms of you know, action chain challenges I could possibly show off, and especially noticeable with some more Cocos, or new Cocos, or I meant to say, might actually be around here somewhere. Like some of them are easy to able to obtain, from what I've noticed, whenever I did manage to play the game on the Nintendo Switch version most likely, but then some of them are actually really tough. Like, I'm not kidding, what I'm saying is about the fact that in this particular area, for instance, that something tells me is another one of those new Cocos to obtain. So we can potentially try to able to do precise platforming here and there, even though, mind you, about the fact that if you mess up one of those segments once, you have to start all over again in this particular platforming segment. Like, there's no checkpoints at all if you somehow managed able to respawn certain parts throughout. So I must say, I really love the actual camera viewpoint for that particular island, as you can tell. But unfortunately though, I did somehow fall off and die, because again, sometimes you need to be so precise with your movements and your momentum as well. So relatively speaking though, I suppose we'll be back for that later. So just to ensure about the fact that we can able to actually get the main game out of the way. So just to ensure about the fact that we were able to focusing on a lot of stuff, so, but I digress. So yeah, in terms of anything else I could possibly say about this, I'm really hoping about the fact that when it comes to the forms of the newest updates, in terms of the forms of the NSO, or should I say Nintendo Switch Online services, hopefully they might try to bring Mario Party 3 onto the N64, you know, NSO expansion pack. Or perhaps even maybe they'll be able to actually start focusing on not only some more Game Boy stuff, but also with more NES stuff or Super Nintendo stuff, or potentially speaking with Mega Drive or Game Boy Advance. So, well, potentially speaking though, this is what the actual scheduling, or specifically speculation, or speculating for that matter, for certain games might felt a little bit tricky to able to speculate, because I know for a fact that it's been about, almost roughly about, quite a few months ago since we've last had both Mario Party 1 and Mario Party 2 on the NSO expansions. So because of this though, we still have no idea that when does Mario Party 3 is going to be releasing during that time. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell honestly. So either way though, so let's just go ahead and continue at this point. Especially notable about the fact that, relatively speaking, I'm still focusing on just trying to able to complete certain challenges and what have you. So, oh, and also another thing too is about the fact that I apologize for that particular point where, as you probably no doubt tell, is about the fact that we still want to cross into yet another technical issues during that specific period of, this is another reason why that the recording session has actually gone super duper slow. But as you can see, about the fact that we actually still want to cross into a final move skill, and that is of course Recovery Smash. Like every time if you get knocked over by an enemy projectile, basically you have to press the X button to able to perform a Recovery Smash, or the A button on the Switch version, well, presumably for that matter, and potentially speaking with the forms of, I would say the A button on the Xbox version as well. Well, again, it's been about, you know, as I said before, it's been about 5 days ago since I've last played this, because again, change of uploading schedules for this game in particular, because, you know, focusing on Super Mario RPG alongside with Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, because, you know, both Mario and Luigi have already finished up with Mario Super Sluggers, and unfortunately to tell you, I don't think we can probably tackle for the next Mario Sports game anytime soon, just because about the fact that at this point in time, we're scouts are mainly focusing on just to prepare for, let's just say, a new marathon of any sort, or should I say, a month-off series for time to time. Well, we'll pretty much have to save that until at some point until in October, presumably, just in case it all makes things a little bit more fitting for the October month during that time. So, but either way though, we'll have to able to investigate that for later time. So either way, yeah, again, not much else to talk about, because either way though, I was expecting about the fact that they'll bring us something new to the table in regards to the forms of other contents worth noting for. But honestly guys, I think that's as far as I can talk about when it comes to the forms of not only for its, you know, I'm still very excited to able to finally try out not only with Mario Kart 8 Wave 5, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Wave 5 Booster Course Pass DLC, but also finally get a chance to able to play as not only PD Piranha since, well, Mario Kart Double Dash, but also finally get a chance to able to try out Wiggler since Mario Kart 7, and on top of that with Kamek, which I almost assume about the fact that now, some people seem to say that they somehow managed to able to mention something in regards to the forms of Kamek was originally going to be planned to be playable, well, not only for Mario Kart 64, which we've already pointed that out, but also about the fact that he was originally becomes playable in Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. But as a result, it's been scrapped due to development. So because of that though, yeah, I just have no idea why they just somehow thought that that was such a good idea to able to include Pink, Gold, Peach to begin with. Like, seriously, whoever thought that was a good idea, especially back in 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago actually, that many people think this is unacceptable.
I'm so used to using the Chaos Emeralds, it's kind of hard to accept they're from space.
Yes, they were central to the Ancients' power and native to their world. They are the only things that can awaken all the functions on the island, and were taken away with the last survivors to another land.
Without the Emerald's power, the island's functions eventually shut down.
That is why I drew them here. I hope to use the Ancients' technology to stop the emergence of their old foe.
Because I remember back in the day, in 2014, where basically it's about the fact that when people sees Pink, Gold, Peach in action, a lot of people already hate her right from the start, mainly because about the fact that it's almost like the exact replica, or should I say, it might felt a bit slightly similar to Metal Mario, except with a different color scheme, and obviously about the fact that it did somehow manage to bring her back, not only once, but twice. Like one of them on the sports compilation game, which is of course Mario Sports Superstars, which back in the day in 2017, I found is very unacceptable, because I was assumed they were able to actually bring some unique characters to the table, like for instance with the forms of possibilities like, I don't know, Toadette, or perhaps even maybe Pauline. Well, it wasn't until in 2017, late 2017, that Super Mario Odyssey managed to bring Pauline back, as, you know, she actually performs Jump Up Superstar, which, still, it is very fantastic when it comes to the forms of the later half of 2017, so, or generally speaking, if I like able to choose another one of those characters, it might be for possibility of, I don't know, Nabbit, or Toad for that matter, but instead that those Toads are side playable characters in only one of those other sports in general, like, for instance with football or soccer for those of you who lived in America, as well as baseball, but they're all likely also for cosmetics and stuff like that, like Flying Squirrel, Yellow Toad, or Penguin Toad for that matter, but either way though, and also they bring Pink Gold Peach in there for some stupid reason, so even then, they're usually, relatively speaking though, it looks way off for that particular character model, I might add, especially noticeable how pixelated it looks. And even not to mention though, they somehow managed able to bring her back again during the Falls of in Mario Kart Tour, and ever since then, that she has not returned since then, which I suppose that's kind of a good thing, especially noticeable because, relatively speaking though, that we just simply just moved on to other character choices that usually becomes popular during that time, like, you know, as I said before, with Pauline, as well as the forms of other characters in general. I mean, it's nice to be able to have Diddy Kong in both Mario Tennis Aces, as well as Mario Strikers Battle League Football. Well, except with the forms of Mario Golf Super Rush, because you get it, because that game is actually rushed. So, yeah, that pretty much summed up as the forms of Mario Golf Super Rush. It's kind of in a nutshell, like the game is pretty much rushed. So, like, not able to bring in, you know, a whole pack of characters or anything else like that. Well, and usually we get some obscure character selections, like for instance with King Bob-omb, as well as the forms of Judging Chuck, as well as Ninjas, and especially noticeable with Wiggler, and on top of that with some other stuff in general. So it's a shame that Bono is not playable in that game, unlike also with Mario Tennis Aces and Mario Strikers Battle League Football, whilst meanwhile for Petey Piranha, that he only becomes playable in the modern Mario Sports title, which is of course Mario Tennis Aces, except with Super Rush as well as Battle League Football, which I almost assumed they were able to actually bring him back, but no, it doesn't seem to be the case, so kind of unfortunate though, but at the very least that's something I suppose I should probably explain when it comes to looking back on certain things worth noting for, so anywho though, yeah, that's pretty much it as far as I'm usually concerned with that stuff. Oh, and by the way, something's worth noting for is about the fact that it's been about 13 years ago since when the first Illumination film just came out, and that's what appears to be, of course, Despicable Me 1. Now, as it turns out, that film is now 13 years old since when it first came out in 2010. Mind you, I still haven't really get a chance to see that film, but that's just because Despicable Me stuff is not my cup of tea. That's just because about the fact that the Minions are basically now become like somewhat of similar personalities as rabbits, basically, from the likes of the films of the Rayman Raving Rabbit series, whilst nowadays it's on Mario plus Rabbids games, I'm pretty certain for the sake of convenience, so, but either way though, that might be a topic for a later time, for Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope content wise, because it wasn't until we might possibly get the third and final DLC for that particular game, and during at some point by the end of this year. So, relatively speaking though, we'll save that topic for later. So either way though, So at the moment right now, I'm gonna go after the next cyberspace transporter, and I think we've almost done with this basically. So I'm not exactly sure how many cyberspace transporters I've got left. I think I've only got 2 left, because something tells me about the fact that I was expecting if I was trying to able to go and go for a fishing portal thingy, but I'm probably not going to do that just yet, because obviously about the fact I need to take care of the forms of some other stuff first. So yeah, let's just go ahead and deliver the actual portal gear onto the actual cyberspace transporter. So just in case we can able to actually get this out of the way, before we're able to actually almost finishing up everything in terms of the forms of Ouranos Island. So either way though, let's just dive right into this, shall we? So either way though, exponentially speaking though, about the fact that at this point in time, that I'm very curious to know what the actual level layouts are going to be based off from this time. So, because I mean, after all, we've already experienced about the forms of some of those. Oh, what's this? I think, if I recall correctly, it's almost entirely based around from... I can't really tell, actually, because I think it's kind of new, or perhaps even maybe I keep thinking about something else entirely, because I know for a fact that we've already gone through, certain familiar, level layouts from based off of the past Sonic games, presumably speaking. So either way though, I'm thinking about the fact that, yeah, it seems about the fact that at this point in time, we now moved on to some of those, original level layouts, as far as I'm aware. Well, mind you about the fact that, as I said before, it's been about 5 days since I've last played this, so... And I think, relatively speaking, we're most able to do this cyberspace level before I end off the video here, because obviously we'll save up the last few bits during the forms of, let's just say, until on Thursday. So yeah, that might be a topic for later. So. And also another thing too is about the fact that I just seriously cannot even believe we're now on the 100th tour tomorrow for Mario Kart Tour, despite, you know, I'm still not overly keen on the game that much because of, you know, bad controls. Not only that, most people complain about the forms of the bad rubber banding AI when it comes to likely playing the actual races by yourself. Especially noticeable because, relatively speaking though, that I've seen a video about the forms of why people quit Mario Kart Tour every nowadays, because obviously the rubber banding AI just keeps on like outright against them. So because of this though, gee, no wonder why I keep on complaining about that game so many times, despite I have no idea why I somehow give the game praise for it. So I've got no words to think about it. So either way, yeah, for the most part I think we're basically done with that particular cyberspace segment. Oh yeah, I just realized about the fact that during around that time until next Monday or something like that, basically Paper Mario the Origami King will eventually become 3 years old at some point until next Monday, because relatively speaking, despite that game did came out during the course of the pandemic year, which that might be seems a bit of an odd timing back then, especially noticeable when I first look about it back in the forms of it during the lockdown year. And basically though, I was a bit skeptical, but then I found out that it was actually quite alright, even though it's not the best entry in the series, mind you, because I still usually top not only Paper Mario for the N64, but as well as the forms of the Thousand Year Door, because obviously the Thousand Year Door is the best entry in the series. But either way, so yeah, that's essentially how you leave this area, as you can see. So with that being said, we got the endings of this point right here, so join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers. That is about the fact that we'll still continue exploring for the forms of Ouranos Island to do quite a few bits here and there, and especially noticeable about the fact that we can able to be finishing everything for the cyberspace department. So I'll see you guys until on Thursday. Later, fellas.